And here we go. My name is Dr. Coach TJ Zito, and welcome to John Carroll Catholic Boys and Girls Wrestling 2022-2023 season. Man, I got to tell you, I'm so excited. We started this program just 3 seasons ago. We're now about to start our 4th season, and I cannot wait to tell you about all the changes, the great fun we're going to have, and all that we're going to accomplish this season. So I'm looking forward to having your son or your daughter's participation in what we're doing, and we're going to go through a lot of that information today. I know there's been a lot of emails, phone calls. Some people were able to come to the meeting, and I want to be able to cover everything for everyone so you have all the details. All right, so we're going to be looking at everything for the season. First, I want to introduce myself once again, Dr. Coach TJ Zito. This is our 4th season right here. We volunteer at John Carroll along with my wife, Dr. Coach Wendy Zito. I'm a former Hoover Bucks 2-time state qualifier wrestler way back in the 90s, many decades ago. I volunteered as the assistant coach at Tuscaloosa County High back when I was in graduate school. I never thought I'd be back on the mats. I never thought I'd be back around wrestling. And the opportunity came about when my son transferred from Hoover schools many years ago to John Carroll. John Carroll had not had a team since 2003. And when we met Coach Steele, that was one of the things we had talked about. He said John Carroll was interested in having a team and didn't know where to go with it and how to start. And I just kind of put my hand up. I turned to my wife and I gave this look like, oh, this is going to hurt. And there we were, man. We started. It just seems like it was yesterday, 3 seasons ago, and we were rolling these older mats into the lunchroom every day. And that's where we started our practices, and we progressed since then. I am now a board member on the Alabama Wrestling Coaches Association. I'm the head content creator for the Alabama Girls Wrestling Alliance. I MC a lot of events around the community. I'm on year 3 of MCing girls state championships, and I'll also MC the youth state championships, and also MC many events, just different wrestling matches and such around the community. I'm going to be volunteering, and I'll do a couple for Spain Park as well. I did Thompson, I've done Hoover, and I just enjoy the sport of wrestling, and I like being able to get out there and help. I have my PhD in communications, and I teach college, everything from public speaking to different video content classes for social media. I teach a lot of corporate communications, teach a lot of business communications, media-related classes, public relations, and we also own a company, WJTZ Media, where we consult with businesses and do a lot of the same things we talk about in the classroom. My wife, Dr. Coach Wendy, she's in her 4th season also volunteering with John Carroll. She's a former professional dancer. That's actually her up there in the picture. And so she got her start in wrestling back when we were in college, and she was just in the girlfriend role before she was at the upgrade in the wife role, right? So she used to help out at Tuscaloosa County High. When I would assist with wrestling, she was there doing a lot of the first aid, helping out on the side of the mats and helping kids stretch and things. And she actually got her start when we used to volunteer with the youth programs at Hoover. She was kind of pulled out onto the mats by Hall of Fame coach Steve Gaydosh, formerly of Vestavia. He's a Hall of Famer over there, pulled her out on the mats and said, hey, you need to be teaching all these wrestlers how to stretch, how to roll, how to tumble. And that's actually when Wendy got her start in wrestling, is when Coach Gaydosh pulled her out into Hoover Youth, and she's kept going with that. And as girls wrestling has grown, she's been right there with it. She was the first female head coach to solo at Girls State. So when we sit in the chairs in the side of the mat, she did it by herself. She didn't have me. I wasn't over there. She coached the girls on her own, and she's the first woman coach that's ever done that at Girls State that's just 3 years old. She is now the creative director of the Alabama Girls Wrestling Alliance. This is a very important group as we're progressing girls wrestling forward and moving towards getting it sanctioned. Wendy is now head of that organization and leading that charge. Bama Girls Wrestle, you can check it out, www.bamagirlswrestle.com, and that is the AGWA. She's made many media appearances for wrestling, including Fox 6, NBC. She's been in print media. You may be seeing some of her articles on AL.com and the Hoover Sun. She also has her PhD in communications. She's a college professor as well and teaches a lot of the same classes I do. She is one of the leading researchers, get this, leading researchers right now on TikTok and TikTok bullying. So that's something that she's a published author for and is getting a lot of accolades for her research that she does with that. So that's a little bit about who we are. We do volunteer and help out at John Carroll. Many of you might have seen us at some of the social events. We do some different things at John Carroll, volunteer some classes every now and then to come and help out. And of course, we do wrestling. So the AHSA, so changes have been made for girls wrestling, and we're looking at this new emerging status that I just brought up that's going on in the state right now. What emerging is a 2-year program that's preparing girls wrestling for sanction. Until this year, wrestling with girls and boys was everything mixed. Now it has been completely separated. We have boys wrestling, we have girls wrestling. So much like we have boys basketball, we have girls basketball, or boys golf and girls golf, we now have boys wrestling and girls wrestling. This is the first year we're ever going to have a separate team. And that's going to create a lot of changes in how we do matches. So we booked matches to where the boys wrestle once the school, and then the girls are going to wrestle at the school. Not every school is going to have girls wrestling. So we've worked to book to where the girls have matches and the boys have matches in the same location. So we're traveling as one program, even though we have two separate teams. We're also practicing together. We practice as one team, but we are completely separate, boys wrestling and girls wrestling. We're going to work to where when we do things live and scrimmages and such, that girls wrestle with girls and boys wrestle with boys. Now, there might be some time when some of our more experienced boys might walk over, might help over, might show, somebody some technique, a girl some technique and things like that. But we're going to try to keep it to where it's girls wrestling girls and boys wrestling boys. Wendy is going to be more hands-on with the girls. Of course, I'll be more hands-on with the boys. There might be some crisscross every now and then, but we work as much as we can to keep it one complete wrestling program, but work to keep girls wrestling girls. A lot of that is comfort. It's very difficult a lot of times, as Catholic families, we teach, hey, let's not have violence against women. And then we're getting on the wrestling mat and we're telling them, hey, go wrestle hard. So I think it's a good change that we're not going to have boys wrestling girls anymore. I like that part of the sport. Now, there are some teams within this 2 year of emerging status that are going to give their girls a choice to where they could wrestle on the boys roster or the girls roster. At John Carroll, we're only going to wrestle girls on the girls roster. There is a possibility of a boy in a weight class running against a girl that's in that weight class. That is a possibility, and we've faced that in years past, and we've taken it match per match on how we deal with those situations. Some of the boys are completely comfortable, want to go out and wrestle, and then some of the boys are saying, no, I don't want to wrestle a girl, and we understand. We understand either way, and we're glad to work with individual families and individual wrestlers. I don't see that happening this season. So far, for girls that want to certify for the boys division, we haven't seen that happen, and I don't think we're going to see that happen with any of the teams that we're going to wrestle this season. But I do want to put that out there in the emerging status. That is a possibility for 2 more years until we move towards complete girls sanctioning that would 100% separate girls wrestling from boys wrestling. So that's what emerging status is, and you can go to www.bamagirlswrestle.com, and that's the website that Wendy and I operate, and you could read. We have tons of statistical data out there about girls matches over the past couple of years, the changes in the sport, the growth that's necessary, and the plan that Wendy has set with the state of Alabama and what they are working towards and the goals they've given her to communicate to the wrestlers and to the teams to help grow girls wrestling. So the state of Alabama and their coaches advisory board have set up a great program, and Wendy's just trying to help communicate it out to everybody and work with the state to make sure that everybody understands these rules. And so with John Carroll, we really have a leadership role in girls wrestling. And so we're really looking to recruit a lot of our young wrestlers 7th through 12th in our feeder schools and our middle schools to come and wrestle in the program. All right. So moving ahead, one of the big things everybody wants to know is, man, how much is this sport going to cost? One time, people tell me I went out, my kid wanted to play some crazy sport. I spent $1,000 on gear. They never played it again. So one good thing about wrestling is it is a low cost sport. We do have some gear, but we don't have as much as other schools. And we do tend to run on the less expensive side. And then as a team, we work to hold costs down. So school fees, John Carroll charges $150 per athlete. That's whether you're in a feeder school or that's whether, you're in high school. That's per athlete, and that is John Carroll. So that $150, that's going to be for everybody across the boards, and that helps support the athletic programs and everything that we do with the school. Now, our actually gear cost. So Warrior Wrestling Club, that's a wrestling club we belong to in the off season. They're a 501c3 nonprofit. We also have our 501c3 nonprofit, Catholic Wrestle, and we work together and we try to find deals and such. A Warrior Wrestling Club, their 501c3 has brand new Rudis shoes, and they're only going to charge $40 per pair for them. And I'm going to tell you, these are terrific shoes. My son Jay has had a couple pairs that we've bought from up there at Warrior, and they've got a lot of them. They're looking to go ahead and move, and I would love for our team to be able to pick them up at a discount. These shoes are normally like $125. Sometimes Ruta shoes can be $150. So be able to pick up pairs if they have your kid size for $40, man, that's some big time cost savings. If you go into Academy right now and you try to buy a basic wrestling shoe, it's going to be $50 or $60. And you can go as expensive as you want, just like any sport. There's $200 pairs of shoes out there if you wanted them. But, if you went to Academy, you might pay anywhere from $50 to $100. And here we're getting a great deal for $40. Now for headgear, we recommend the Cliff King Tornado, and these fit over the ears, and we recommend that you wear them for practice. You don't have to, but we recommend it. You don't want to have cauliflower ear. That is when the cartilage busts in your ear. If you've ever seen a wrestler and they've got a little nub for an ear, right? That's when the blood vessel has burst and you got to get drained. It's a real nasty thing, and it can be easily prevented just by wearing headgear. That's it. And headgear is required in all the matches. So if you don't want to get cauliflower ear, if you look, I don't have it. I wore my headgear during practice in high school, right? So I wore it so I didn't get cauliflower ear. And so that's the easiest protection. And we like the Cliff King Tornado. It doesn't slip. It doesn't move around. Some of the saucer style headgears, we see them slip in matches and they end up around the throat and things. And we like the Cliff King ones. And you can pick them up for $40 on Amazon. You can go to Academy. Hey, if we're going to get them, let's get something basic, the black ones or either the white ones. If you get the green around the outline, that's okay. But let's not get the crazy colors. Girls, it's okay. If you do the pink ones, that it's black or white and got the pink matting around the side, that's fine. But I don't want to see like, neon blue or neon yellow, things that aren't within our John Carroll theme. And so one of the companies that we do our gear with, their names are Go Earn It. And they are run by a group of former wrestling coaches. And we can get a singlet, and this is the fight style shorts we wear in practice, and a quarter zip that we wear to our matches for $115. And those are custom sublimated designs, and they can have them here in 4 weeks once we place the order. And that's a great deal, $115. Last year, our singlets alone were almost that amount, and they took almost 12 weeks to get to us. So the fact that this company is going to do it in less than 4, and they're looking at $115, and we get the zip, the practice shorts, and the singlet, man, it's a heck of a deal. And I've been working hard to find companies to bring down cost. Now, for shirts, hoodies, sweatpants, collared shirts, things like that, Catholic Wrestle 501c3, we're going to be able to deliver products pretty much at cost. So last year we spent a lot of money, and our family included, because we're included on the team. Our son wrestles on this team besides us just volunteering. We paid an arm and a leg for gear last year. So what we did here in the off season is Wendy and I personally just went out and bought the equipment, sublimated equipment, the heat press. We've got the different styles of graphics and things designed, do different programs, and now we can make our own gear. So we did just so we can cost down. So what we'll do is we run things through Catholic Wrestle. We'll be able to sell it at cost, and it can just really work to save a lot of money. For example, we can make a t-shirt now $10 to where the t-shirts last year $25. So that's major savings, and we're able to do it pretty much at cost. So all we're doing is getting the supplies, and we'll get some of the parents there on a Saturday, and we'll teach y'all how to use the press. Wendy will be running ink and graphics, and we'll have some parents pressing, and we'll do a gear day. We'll have a lot of fun. We'll put some football up on the big screen, and we'll have a good time with it. So we're looking at doing that. That's a great way we can reduce cost. That way, dads and people, we can get collared shirts. Moms, we can create some of the cool designs. Wendy's got a lot cooler shirts that she's found a company where, the shirts don't look just like regular buy at Walmart, Hanes BVTs or whatever. She's found some really cool shirts and wrestling mom designs and different things that she's really excited, more stylish, a more cool appeal. I like the cool, right? The cool appeal that'll give us more of a stylish look for our parents. Our kids can't just look good, right? We got to look good, right? All right, so the HSA, they require a $25 hydration test for every wrestler. What this does is it's run by a third party, Encore. And Encore gives each kid a test, and it's a BMI index, and it gives the percentage of how much body fat they have and what weight classes they can wrestle. What this does is it stops kids from dropping weight too quick or for dropping too much. So it gives kind of an outline of 2 or 3 weight classes they could wrestle, and they've got a bottom line that they can't drop below. They can only lose 1.5% of their body weight per week, so they can't drop too fast. And then there's a benchmark of how far they can go, period. So if they start dropping too fast, it'll flag them and they won't be allowed to wrestle. And if they drop too far, it'll disqualify them from that particular weight class. So a big black eye on wrestling back when I wrestled back in the day, many of us were dropping 20 to 25 pounds. That era of wrestling is gone. That is over. We've been moved into a new era with this hydration test, and I think it's very terrific of what they do to where they control the weights and they help everybody lose weight at a little bit more of a manageable pace or maintain their weight. And that's a good thing too at John Carroll. We don't really subscribe to a lot of weight loss. The most we ever have, some kids will maybe drop a weight class. What they'll see is they'll get into practice and maybe they've been on the cell phone for 6 weeks and not really doing a whole lot. And they get into practice and they get running and conditioning and practicing and they start sweating and they drop a weight class naturally. And all we ask is that kids maintain a healthy diet. I'm not a big proponent of skipping meals and things like that. I don't like to see our wrestlers do that. My goal is to have 3, plus healthy meals a day. Some people are doing the 5 meals, smaller ones during the day. That's cool too. But healthy meals. So just have the kids, cut out the junk food, cut out the Doritos, and cut out the fruit roll-ups. They even eat those anymore. I don't even know where that one came from. Cut out, the Dr. Pepper and the cocaine. Me too. I got to cut out some of that too, right? So they just live a little bit healthier of a lifestyle, healthier diet, and we can speak to you all about that. Or I'm sure different things and read up on Google what good healthy food will be, and do that. And you'll notice as the kids are conditioning, they'll start to trim up and they'll drop a weight class without actually dieting. So we're not talking about any kind of dieting or crash dieting or anything like that. Those days are over for wrestling. And so $25 per kid. You've got to bring cash on the day we go. They're going to give us our date and the location on October 1st. I got a feeling ours is either going to be on October 22nd at Thompson or October 29th at Hoover. They're usually around 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. We try to get out of there before the 11 o'clock kickoff for whatever football game is on the Saturday. Hey, man, I got to watch the Tide. So, it happens all the time. It's always tends to be that 11 o'clock game. So we'll try to get out of there as quick as possible. We will know that date on October 1st. So we have 4 major apps that we use in wrestling. So we're going to start on the bottom corner with Dragonfly Max. That goes through John Carroll. This is where they go and get their doctor's physical, and it's uploaded into Dragonfly. They have a sportsmanship online class they take, a concussion class. They have a grade check, and just like a medical history for the parents to fill out. The parents have to sign it. The kids have to sign it. You just upload all the documents into Dragonfly. And when they do that, the school will check off all the documents, make sure that you have everything that you need. They'll do a grade check based on the previous year's grades. Of course, this year's grades are extremely important, but your grade check will come from last year's grades. So even if you have good grades right now and you had very bad grades last year, that can affect your eligibility. The office will contact you and work with all the details for eligibility. So Dragonfly Max is how we do everything with eligibility. Team Reach, you can put this on your phone, and once you sign up, we'll give you our private code that we have to our Team Reach. Check this at least twice daily. It's a messaging service, and it's a little app, and it acts kind of like our own personal social media. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good, and I like it because parents can click like, they can click a heart, they can make comments, kind of like social media. There's a couple little quirky things that I wish were different. We can put pictures on there. I can put a schedule up there, but for the most part, it's pretty good. The reason I say to check twice daily is everything changes in wrestling. Wrestling is not like some of the other sports that you have your schedule, and no matter what, that's kind of set in stone. Wrestling, we have a schedule, but you'd be amazed how many things flex and move and get rotated. And that's why I say check twice a day, because there's always new information. The second the information comes to me, I give it to go. I don't hold back. And, you'll see, I put detailed Team Reaches out there because I want you to know everything that's going on. Our other ones, we have Track Wrestling. So Track Wrestling is how all details of matches are physically tracked. So as we go, our schedule will be on Track Wrestling, and each kid will have a profile, and it'll have their matches, what they've won, what they've lost, who they've wrestled, what round it was when they won or lost, the score to the match. Everything is up on Track Wrestling. It's searchable for 15 years back that they've had track, so you can actually look back at old tournaments and see results and things like that. Also, each kid has their own profile, and Track Wrestling will rate them 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 stars as they move through their career. You have your same Track Wrestling, whether you start at 5 years old or whether you start now and move through school, you have Track Wrestling. It helps with recruiting, and the game has changed. When we started this program 3 seasons ago, there were no colleges wrestling in Alabama. Now we have Huntington that has a men and a women's program. We have Montevallo that will start competing next year. They just announced it and hired a coach that's going to have a scholarship program, D2 for boys, that'll be starting this next year, and girls hopefully in a couple of years. So now we have local colleges. They're going to be recruiting local wrestlers. So the game has changed. We need to care a little bit more about how an athlete progresses through track wrestling, what they do in season, what they do off season, and it merges all that. So you'll have your in season results, your off season results, and track wrestling will rank you. And it also helps us a little bit of an intimidation factor. When you go to wrestle at school and a kid looks up your kid, they're like, oh, he's 3 stars or he's 4 stars. I got to go up against this guy, right? Or sometimes it can work against you. You can see a kid is 4 stars, but he hasn't won a whole lot since youth, So it's good because you can see all their results from the first day they started wrestling and they went on to track wrestling all the way through. So even if you have last year's results, you can link all of those to a current track wrestling profile. Matt Boss is a statistical video app that we have. Much different than Huddle. Huddle, your football coaches can use. Matt Boss, everybody on our team can use. So all wrestlers will have a password. They can log on. They can watch all of their matches. They can watch all the matches of their teammates. They can watch any of our matches of the past 3 years. I'm able to go on to matches, and if somebody asks me to, I can make notes on a particular match. I can timestamp them so they can see my thoughts and hear my thoughts on what's going on. You can slow-mo, speed up. It's got all kind of controls. Scoring is timestamped as it happens as you move through the match, and that's really cool. And all that's done live. So when you see Wendy sitting next to me, she's not just running a tablet. She is physically scoring the matches, and she knows the progress, the rules, the hand signals. She knows what's happening with the refs when they're doing all this crazy stuff. Looks like they're directing, air traffic, right? But she's actually deciphering their nonverbal for what they're giving. I'm going into teacher mode, deciphering their nonverbal. They're deciphering the hand signals, and she's doing the scoring live, and it timestamps right into what we're doing with the app. So Matt Boss is tremendous, and we are actually Android testers, and we have been for 3 years. Wendy and I also helped them with a little bit of marketing and social media, and they've been a terrific partner for our program. And Matt Boss, man, I could not imagine coaching without it. And that's what I tell people when we do the social media videos, is that I could not imagine. Matt Boss is like having another coach on our team. It's that valuable, and it helps me individualize when I go to coach because I can watch, I can see who was scoring when and where, and I can analyze the stats. I can look at, is our team scoring takedowns? Is a certain individual getting escapes? What's scoring in second round versus third round? It loads me with information, and I'm somebody that believes in the more data you have, the better decisions you can make. So I'll talk a little bit about community partners. Birmingham Firefighters Association. That is our practice facility. And man, I cannot speak enough great things about them. This is a relationship we were able to find 3 seasons ago. Our first season, we were in the lunchroom. We're having to move all the tables and chairs out of the way. We had these older, big, heavy mats we just donated to the Wrestling Hall of Fame, by the way, here in Alabama, that brought them out to a new program. But we used to have to clear all that out of the lunchroom. And then we used to have to bring our mats in, roll them out, tape them down every day. We would lose an hour on setup and an hour on teardown. So we were actually only getting really an hour and a half of practice, and we were spending 2 hours on setup and teardown. So now we have this practice facility. It's 1 mile from John Carroll. It's straight out the back gate, go across West Oxmoor and down around the corner, tucked in, and that's where the Firemen's Association is, right over there. This is their union hall, and we have worked out a deal through our 501c3 Catholic Wrestle. That's our nonprofit. And, we fundraise through our nonprofit for different things. And that's one of the things we do, is to work this network with the Birmingham Firefighters Association. We clean their facility. We help with some of their charity events, and we always stay respectful to their mission. We stay respectful to their facility. They have a beautiful facility. It's got a men and a women's bathroom. It's got a full kitchen. It's got, when I say a full kitchen, it's got like a cooking kitchen area. And then it's got like another kitchen that can be its own meeting hall with a 70-inch big screen TV. It's got full coolers full of drinks and stuff. And I always make fun of us with John Carroll. I've got the big filtered water, the big bottles, the water cooler you might have at work. We have one of those. And I always say we have Evian on tap. You can always tell we're a private school, right? So at Berry High School, Hoover High School back in the day, I had an old rusted water fountain. And these guys have got purified water. So it's chilled, purified water at that. We've got an ice machine in there. So it's just the works. We could never find a better facility, fully air conditioned, fully heated. The firemen sometimes will kick back, they'll watch practice. Parents sometimes will come and do their work. They'll sit and do the laptop. They'll stay in the kitchen area and they'll peek their head out the door and watch some practice every now and then. So it's really a great facility. And as long as we keep it clean and we stay respectful, we're not busting holes in the walls or, yelling and screaming and everything. This is an honor for us to be there, to be able to be in that room. So as long as we treat them with respect and we treat the facility with respect, we have use of that facility. And Catholic Wrestle, we partner with them on their charity events. They've got a cancer drive coming up for a fireman's daughter that has cancer and has had to have some emergency surgeries. We're going to help them raise money for that. And we always do their toy drive and jacket drive for homeless kids over the holidays. So we'll be participating in that as well again. And Catholic Wrestle, some of the other things that we do, we assist with other people's events. We donate some different things across the community for wrestling. And when I go to announce at other schools, I do it through Catholic Wrestle. So it's really our way that Wendy and I give back to the community. It's how we give back for certain things that we do through wrestling. And even after our time at John Carroll is done one day, we'll continue to support the community for wrestling through Catholic Wrestle. So important dates that are coming up. October 17th, that starts our evaluation week. So we're allowed to have practice for that Monday through Friday, and that's our evaluation. Hey, I realize we're going to have some people in other sports still, but if we can go ahead and get people started, especially the girls, especially the new people that are not playing another sport, that'd be a great time for them to get going. And it helps everybody get moving, get stretching, get moving again. The first official practice we're allowed by AHSAA is October 24th, and we'll start running our full schedule. And then October 31st, if there's no playoffs for football, then the football players will join on that Monday right there. So technically they could join on the Saturday. We are going to have some Saturday practices, especially at the beginning. We're going to have some Saturday practices. We're playing from behind. We've only had a program for 3 years. A lot of the programs are wrestling against, they've had programs for decades, right? Their kids start no later than middle school. Many of these programs are wrestling against, their kids start in the youth program. So we're having to play catch up for kids that have a lot of experience. Can it be done? Yes. With hard work, it can be done. So we are going to work hard. We do take our practices seriously. So our practice expectations is as soon as you get done at John Carroll, when the bell rings, I want you, if you want to get dressed there, or if you just want to come onto the fire hall and get dressed. That's actually what we prefer, is come onto the fire hall and you can get dressed over in the bathrooms or in the weigh-in area that we have. And then the girls can get dressed in the girls' bathroom as well. So on Mondays, we get out early by 2:45, be at the fire hall. So when the bell rings, don't go talk to friends and girlfriend or whatever. Just tell them, hey, I got a commitment, man. I got a commitment to my team and my coach. I got to go to wrestling practice. So go ahead and drive carefully over to the fire hall. On days that we get out of school at 3 o'clock, same thing. I want you over there and I want you to the fire hall by 3:15, dressed and ready to go by 3:30. So on Mondays, dressed and ready to go by 3, and on Tuesday through Friday, dressed and ready to go by 3:30. Middle schoolers, arrive when y'all can. A lot of the middle schoolers, we've had them come from OLS, OLV, Principe, St. Francis, and they've been able to get there. Hey, St. Rose, we might even have a St. Rose this year. So, get there when you can. I understand traffic and everything. Parents, don't speed or do anything like that. But let's try to get there. Let's not take breaks and go through the McDonald's line or anything like that. Let's try to make sure we get to practice. So when the music hits, and you'll see that's our, we light it up for our stretching and our warm up, man. We do the LEDs. We make it cool, man. We got to have some good time. We got to have fun. So when the music hits, that's when we start practice. Our water breaks, we have them scheduled. Everything in our practice is scheduled. I can tell you what we're going to be doing Monday through Friday, at what time, what we're working on, when we're going to have water breaks. We learned last year that's the best way. When we are completely scheduled, we've learned we can maximize our time in practice and run the most amount of material, because we have to teach so much. With other sports, I'm not saying they don't have to teach, but kids kind of have an idea of what soccer is, what baseball is. Coming into wrestling, the majority of the people we have at John Carroll have no idea what wrestling is, and we have to teach from the ground up. We have to run drills that maybe we run in youth and things until we can get people caught up and up to speed on things. So we have to schedule out. We schedule out the water breaks. If you will stick to our schedule, that'll be terrific. So we clean. We keep the mats very clean. So we do that. So we mop the mats. So when y'all walk in, you'll see us. We'll be mopping the mats. So that way we can have them clean and ready to go. We have a little shoe cleaner. We have about 3 shoe cleaning stations. Before you step on the mat, Always step on the shoe cleaner. It will clean your shoes off. So when you step on the mat, you have clean shoes. We also have body wipes. We're going to ask you to use these body wipes periodically through practice, definitely after practice. It just helps control, any kind of sickness going around, flu, bacteria, things like that. So we're going to follow all cleanliness procedures that we learned during COVID. We learned a lot during COVID, and I actually like these. I like having these cleanliness rules in effect, and it just makes for everybody being healthier. And so if you are injured, and sometimes people, hey, I got a sore shoulder, or I got an upset stomach, I can't practice, I expect you to still be there. We've got chairs where you can watch practice, you can absorb material. If you're going to do that, you're not going to be on your laptop, you're not going to be on your cell phone. You're not going to use wrestling practice as a study hall. And I get people all the time, oh, I got to come in, I got to do this homework assignment. Make sure you're scheduling your day to where you get your homework done and you get it done at night. I know it's tough. Man, we got matches, and I know we got late matches and we got late nights and stuff, but we got to make sure we don't have tons of people. We're not a 7A program. When I was at Hoover High School, I came from a team of 50 plus wrestlers. I had 4 guys in my weight class. There was plenty of people to practice. At John Carroll, sometimes we might not only have but 7 or 8 people to practice because you'll have a couple kids sick. Somebody will have a dentist appointment or anything. So if people are consistently not showing up, we can't run effective practice. We can't run real practice. So we expect you to be there and not going, hey, I got to go do my homework, or I got to study tonight, or whatever. Manage your homework, manage your schedule. If you want to talk about task management, maybe daily planners. Do kids use daily planners anymore? I still use an old school one a lot of times, or how to use your Google Calendar or something. I could try to help you come up with some game plans on how to maximize time. And sometimes it's cutting out the video games, or cutting out, you got to remember, wrestling's a commitment. It's almost like a job. We can't have always our activity and our same amount of video game time. And I have to explain that to my own son sometimes, that sometimes some of the social and sometimes some of the video games or the internet surfing or whatever, you have to cut out a little bit because you're making a commitment to wrestling. So that stuff goes down, not the homework. We want to make sure you're making your grades, but we don't want you leaving practice early or showing up late because, you got to go do this. Now, it's different. If a teacher says, hey, I need you to stay after to work on something, or, hey, you got to take a test or something like that, communicate. Always communicate. That's why we have Team Reach, and you can communicate through Team Reach. Parents, try to minimize the dentist appointments and the doctor's appointments and things. I know there's not a whole lot of time to make them, and I know there's not a whole lot of time if you want to check kids out from school, but whatever the best way that you can manage that so they're not missing practices. I can promise you this, the more practices your kid comes to, the more matches they're going to win. It's just, I've seen it for 3 years now. The less practices your kid is at, the less they're going to understand and know how to do on the mats. And it hurts our entire team because we don't have a big team. It hurts our ability to practice if your kid isn't there. Because everybody's always like, oh, it's just my kid missing. When you have the my kid, oh, it's just my kid, and there's 4 just my kid or 5 just my kid, you can end up with less than 6 people at practice. So one of the reasons that we clean everything so much is we're trying to prevent ringworm, skin lesions, and staph infections. These can happen, of course, in any sport. You see them inside of football helmets. You see them on basketball gyms and different things. That's why we mop so much with our wrestling mats. We use Mat Attack, which is a top high dollar ringworm and basically any kind of funk that gets on a wrestling mat. Everybody rolling around with sweat. It's nasty, right? So we mop before and after every practice, and we use disposable mop pads so they're not even being reused. And we wanted to prevent ringworm. If you get ringworm and it looks like that, boy, that's nasty, isn't it? And you'll know because it'll itch and it'll turn red. You want to put this Lotrimin on it, it'll kill it within 1 day. So within 1 day, it will be dead and it won't be spreadable to other people. It'll take a few days for the red to go away and for the circle to go away, but it's pretty much dead after 1 day. So if you do get ringworms, let's work to try to get Lotrimin on it as soon as possible. So we recommend Defense soap that you can bathe with every night. It's got tea tree in it, tea tree oil in it. You can also go out and buy tea tree oil and just dump it into any antibacterial soap. You could do that, or you can also, Walmart's got a tea tree oil soap that's pretty good that we bought as well. Just make sure kids shower as soon as they get in. Don't let them lay around in the bedroom or on the couch. And I yell at my son for that all the time. It's nasty, absolutely nasty, but they need to make sure that they shower, as soon as they come in. Put those clothes, go put them right into the washing machine, and I always joke around, if you want to get some rubber gloves or something, or if you do touch those clothes and put them in the washing machine, go wash your hands immediately. Ringworm, because you could get it on your hands and you could scratch or rub something, and you'd be amazed, parents, you can catch ringworm too. So make sure that when you're cleaning their gear, washing those nasty knee pads, right? Nobody likes those, right? So when you're washing those out and things, make sure that you wash your hands really good with some tea tree oil soap as well, and that'll help prevent ringworm. If you do get it, there's an AHSA form, and we're going to send it out to the team, and we're going to make sure it's on our website. You download it, you take it to the doctor, they take a look at it, they fill it out, and then that note we have to take for the next week or so to all the matches and tournaments to let them know that the ringworm is dead, it's not going to be spread, and that your kid can wrestle. All right, so moving right along. So injuries in sports, people are always like, oh, wrestling seems so dangerous. We watch pro wrestling on television. Hey, that's different. John Cena, you can't see me. That's a different sport. That's not the kind of sport we participate in. If you notice, this is actually, these numbers are from Ohio State. And even though this study's a little older, it's still very accurate to what's today. You'll notice that wrestling actually has less injuries per sport than like basketball, football. I was shocked when I saw the cheerleading one, right? If you look at things like concussions, the numbers are actually very low. And if you look at wrestling, we're going more head to head, and we're very close, and we're always slipping, kind of like fault lines, right? With earthquakes, we slip below. So wrestling, a lot of our activities are more slipping below, and they're very intelligent movements to where you think about other sports where you're running head on and can have collisions. Wrestling's collisions are usually coming from close on. They're not coming from any kind of distance at full speed. So that's why we tend to have less injuries. Now, things like ringworm and things, I don't know if you call it an injury, but that's where we have higher cases. That's why we try to take caution for that. We stretch a lot, shoulders and legs and things. We stretch a lot because we do get in different, contorting positions. So that's why we have a very detailed stretching program that Coach Wendy designs and runs for us to try to prevent muscle injuries. So, as a whole, wrestling does have a lot lower injuries, and we wear the headgear. So any kind of impact we do have to the mat, that headgear kind of absorbs, and our mats are an 1 5/8 foam. And the majority of the matches that we wrestle around the community has pretty good mats for the most part. Even the older ones are very, very good foam that give when you hit. So you're not hitting a hard surface. And with that as well, we have new rules in wrestling. We have different rules that prevent things like slams. And, certain refs are more conservative. Other refs are more liberal with how they do that. But for the most part, all refs are trying to limit the impact of picking a kid up and bringing them down to the ground. And there is kind of a wrestling badge of honor or code of safety that I would say most wrestlers that really are involved in the sport respect their opponents to where they're not actively trying to hurt them. This is because it's a small community, a lot of us that go to off season, these other teams are our practice partners, and we know their families and we're friends with them. And so the kids are opponents, but they're not enemies. So you don't see the kids as much. Yes, they go after, yes, they wrestle hard, but it's very much a sportsman style of a lot of sportsmanship, a lot of camaraderie involved between the male and female athletes. And you'll see the female athletes, they take it to a whole nother level, man. They are best friends. They're exchanging Snapchats and Instagrams after matches. They're, they call themselves only like their own wrestling sorority almost. They've got a very interesting culture that they have. All right, so looking at the next slide here. So this is our schedule, and I put it together, like I said earlier, that we have boys and girls matches, and I'll send this out. We are on pace for girls to wrestle over 40 individual bouts. That's when your daughter is on the line to wrestle somebody else. That's a bout, right? So we're looking at 40 bouts for girls and about 50 bouts for guys. And that's pretty good. And that's not including forfeits. So opportunities, that's when somebody walks up to the line and maybe they get a forfeit. I say the opportunity is 60 for boys, 50 for girls, but our goal is to get the girls 40 matches. If you read our statistical data on www.bamagirlswrestle.com, our girls last year wrestled the second most matches in the state. Ava last year wrestled the second most matches of any girl. So our girls are actively participating. And that's one of the things we've challenged other programs across the state is to get their girls more than 25 matches. So we've worked out a schedule We found teams that have boys and have girls, and we line up with their boys. We're not wrestling like the big schools or wrestling schools that are our size, our experience level, and the same with the girls. So we've got a very unique schedule we've set up. We don't have any home matches. We're going to try to get one. John Carroll only has one gym. There's a lot of basketball teams, only one wrestling team. We try to do what we can to work with the school. So we do stay on the road a good bit, but we've tried to work everything out within 30 to 45 minutes or less driving circle. We do have a couple of overnights. We've got the dual team tournament that is the state mandated tournament, team regional qualifying. That is December 16th and 17th. That will require an overnight down in Montgomery. That's in Tallahassee, and the state set that up. So we've got to abide and we've got to go down to that one. And we are looking at going to Oxford, Mississippi. So Mississippi just now has wrestling programs. They only had one for a number of years. Oxford's a brand new program. They've invited us over to wrestle other new boys and new girls programs from Mississippi. So we'd be one of like 8 schools. We'd be the only Alabama school, which is really cool. It's only about a 2.5, 3-hour drive, and that would require a hotel stay as well. And then, of course, at the end, state tournament that is up in Huntsville, and of course the individual super sectionals that's in Montgomery. So those are the only overnights in there. And super state, you got to qualify for that. And super sectionals down in Montgomery, a lot of people do not move on to day 2. So, the amount of people that are getting hotels, the only ones that you'll see will be the dual team tournament that we will have December 16th and 17th. And of course, if we do wind up going to Oxford, we're working out those details on January 28th. I will send this out, and we will be filtering practices in and out of these dates. So you'll see a lot of times we'll wrestle on a Tuesday, practice on a Wednesday, basically going over some of the mistakes and things we can learn. Not a hard practice on the Wednesday, more like a review. And then we have a match on Thursday, and then we'll have a review practice on Friday and a tournament on Saturday. So you'll see that our practices will kind of progress. At the beginning of the season, man, that's when we're really putting that grind in and a lot of that hard work. But once the matches start, we do a little bit more review on the mats, a little bit more learning. We can't run that same hard style practice because then you're going hard 5 days a week and the kids are never getting a rest. So we've learned to kind of work that in to where we can, minimize different injuries and things just by, before they wrestle, we have a review learning day, they wrestle, and then we have a review of that match, and then we might wrestle again on the Thursday. We review on the Friday before we leave on Saturday. So that way we're not repeating the same mistakes. With that being said, it is always very important to come to the practice after the match. I know a lot of people are like, I'm tired, I'm just not going to come today. Once again, you get that my kid syndrome, and we see a lot of times that you only have maybe 3 or 4 kids in practice day after a match. And what we see is the other 6 or 7 that don't come repeat the mistakes they made on Tuesday. They don't learn those lessons on the Wednesday, and then they repeat them again on the Thursday. So they just keep repeating the same mistakes and losing for the same reasons because they're never coming and doing the extra work that we do for the video study and the statistics and such through Math Balls. All right, so moving on right here. So quad, tri, and dual. What does that mean? And you'll see that on the schedule. Quad matches are when 4 schools wrestle on one night. You do a round robin format. So we wrestle all the different schools. So a lot of times you can get 3, 4 matches in one night, just depending on, sometimes we do these extra matches to where somebody might say they have like 3 195s, or our 195 might wrestle a couple extra matches. One will be pointed, they'll wrestle a couple of unpointed. Or if we have extra people and it's a JV match, and that's really the way the state prefers it now is the JV matches. So we wrestle girls matches versus girls first. So we wrestle JV versus JV second, and then we might wrestle our varsity third. So different ways, different matches will work different ways. Quad matches, 4 schools are getting together, and you'll wrestle 3 teams in the one night. So basically 2 schools, when they wrestle, that's called a dual match. And so you have a dual match versus other teams. So you'll have 2 mats. Oh, it's so confusing when you try to explain it. A quad match, you'll have 2 mats. 2 teams will wrestle a duel over here. 2 teams will wrestle a duel over there. Then you'll switch, and then you switch again. So it's not like WWE. It's not like you have 3 guys on one mat, and it's a triple threat match and a ladder, tables, and chairs for the heavyweight title. It's not like that at all. It's always just one opponent lining up for the bout. So one match is called a bout, right? And the boys, we have 14 weight classes. So we have 14 bouts from 106 pounds up to 285. And those are scored. When you pin your opponent, you get 6 points for your team. If you beat them by 15 points, you get 5 points for your team. A majority decision by 9, you get 4 points. 3 points if you just beat them by points, right? So what they do is they take the 14 weight classes and they add up who wins from each team. And that's how you get a team victor. For every weight class that you don't have somebody in, The other team gets a forfeit, and that's 6 points. That's why it's so important that we fill all 14 weight classes. For the girls, they have 12 weight classes starting at 100 pounds and going all the way up to 235. Same format. Right now, we have about 5 to 6 girls committed. We really want to see that number increase to where we could potentially fill the majority of the roster. Only a few teams in the state right now have a full roster for girls, but I want to be one of them, man. I want to see, and I know Dr. Coach Wendy, she wants to see John Carroll step up to that challenge, and we would love to fill all 12 weight classes. The same for the boys. We've never filled all 14, not one time in 4 years, and that's a good challenge. So I really want us working for that. So dual team tournaments are when we have the dual matches going on as a tournament format. So you move as a team through a bracket. So an individual tournament, you move as an individual through a bracket, your weight class. Dual team tournament, you will move as a team through your weight classes. So dual team tournaments are similar to quad matches. You know, everybody's going to wrestle, and you're not eliminated on the individual. Your team can eventually be eliminated in a bracket unless it's done round robin. And a bracketed individual tournament, you will move through a bracket as an individual. You will score team points. So your team ultimately does get ranked, but you're moving through a bracket individually in an individual tournament. That'll look a lot like if you follow like the NCAA tournament basketball or something like that. You know, the traditional brackets, we talk about bracketology, and we have different style brackets that we use for wrestling. So we do what's called wrestlebacks for third and fourth. So no matter where you lose in the bracket, if once you lose once, you drop into consolation, and you keep wrestling for third and fourth until you lose again. So we call them 2 and out tournaments. Or a friend of mine, coach down in Central Phoenix City, he just taught me a new term. He calls it 2 and a barbecue, because you're out in 2 and you're going to eat barbecue, right? So 2 and a barbecue is what he calls those tournaments. I'm adopting that, man. I love that, 2 and a barbecue. So the 2 and out tournaments, we don't wrestle many of those. We tend to wrestle more dual team tournaments because our kids get more matches. We tend to wrestle more scramble style tournaments. Scrambles are like individual round robins. We try to wrestle as many tournaments as we can that our kids don't get eliminated, because we need matches right now. We need as many matches for our kids to gain experience. And of course, at sectionals, it's a 2 and out tournament. At sectionals, you got to place within the top 4 in your weight class to make it to state. So you can only lose 2 matches. So you've got to be able to make it to state. You've got to place 1st through 4th in your weight class. We're in the Southern Division of 5A. And the top 4 people in the Southern Division move on to state at Huntsville, and they'll meet the top 4 from the North Division. So you'll have the top 8 in your weight class at state is how that'll work. All right. So moving on right here. So that's what we were just talking about, is the team regional duels in Tallahassee. That is when we're going to wrestle as a team. Our team moves through a bracket. We'll wrestle all the teams in our Section 2 duels that we have. That's a lot of teams like Beauregard, Elmore County, Shelby County, and then we'll have some of the other schools. Valley, it's a new school that's starting up. I'm not very familiar with them. That's a new school. They'll have a program, and we'll wrestle all those schools. And then the team regional duels will take the top 2 teams, and they'll move forward in the team regional tournament that'll happen in Birmingham. The past couple of years, we've been combined with 6A, and we have not moved forward. We've placed 5th in that the past couple of years, which is not a bad placement against 6A teams, losing to schools like Mountain Brook and Homewood and some of the bigger schools. But this year, we've got schools in 5A, and we've got a solid chance if we could fill those weight classes. Girls State will be at Thompson on January 19th, and those requirements for Girls State are coming out. Wendy is working on those right now with the coaches board, and also with Jeff Seegers, who is the head of Alabama Wrestling. She is working on that currently. So we will be able to have that information to you very soon. The finals will be at the Crossplex on January 20th. The boys sectional tournament will be at Garrett Coliseum in Montgomery on February 10th and 11th. That's the individual boys sectional tournament that qualifies you for state. We were just talking about, with state being the 16th through the 18th up at Huntsville Von Braun Center. So before we go to any matches, and we showed the schedule a little while ago, and we got to bring this up right here. Before we go to any matches, we request that all the high schoolers please come to the fire hall right after school. So that way we know who's there. You know, if somebody's absent, that way I'm not looking, hey, where's Billy? Is anybody send Billy today? Well, I think Billy already went to the match. Then I go to the match and there's no Billy. So everybody can meet at the fire hall. You get a chance to check your weight, and I can know if you're at weight, if you're overweight, and that way I can know where your weight is before we even leave to go to the match. Middle schoolers, I understand you're not always able to do this. That's okay. You can go straight to the match. But if we all leave as a group, then that way we're all leaving from one location and driving together, and we know where everybody is. So that way we also don't have, this car stopping at Chick-fil-A, this car stopping at Buc-ee's. And then when we get to the school and I go to weigh in and I'm missing people. Right. So it's easier for me to keep up with everybody if we all meet up and we all leave from one location. And parents, if you can help carpool and things like that, it definitely helps out. And we all go to the match together. All right. So moving along. So individual and team qualifying, just talking about this a little bit more. I brought this up a minute ago. We're in Region 2. For the team duels for the boys, we must have 8 out of the 14 weight classes to even qualify for the tournament. We've been in situations where we barely made that in years past. And of course, your team must place in the top 2 in the region to move on. Look at it. If we only have 8 out of 14, we are forfeiting at that point 6 matches, and a forfeit counts as a pin. So we're giving our opponents 36 points before we even start. We're not going to beat anybody giving up 36 points. It's amazing. We actually have beaten some people doing that, but I don't want to see that anymore. We should be filling those 14 weight classes. For boys individual sectionals, we talked about this, 5A Southern region, each wrestler must place in the top 4 in the double elimination tournament. Girls individual state, we're working on the qualifications, but it is also a dual elimination. You get 2 matches. Some of you that only got 1 match last year, we've got that fixed. That's not going to happen. There's not going to be those pigtail rounds anymore. We are working on that. Girls state will be as my friend calls it, a 2 in a barbecue style tournament to where it's a dual elimination. All right. So people always ask about wrestling, what kind of sport it is. There are no undefeated wrestlers. I've never met anybody that's never lost a match. Wrestling's about having a positive attitude, always working hard, always learning from your mistakes. It's a very humbling sport. You can't blame the kicker. You can't blame the quarterback, the receiver. It's just you. You're out there. You step out to the line. When you win, you win. When you lose, it's on you. It's not the cheating referee. It's not the other guy did something or the other girl did something. What we try to say about the referees are human. And I know a lot of these referees in the area. I grew up wrestling with a lot of them. Hey, do they make a bad call? Sure, man, but they're not doing it vindictive against us. If anything, a lot of the people, I'm friends with them. So we don't really have that animosity versus the referees because I know so many of them. The referees, they call it down the middle for wrestling because they really love this sport. We don't really catch a lot of bad referees out here. But that being said, don't put it in the ref's hands. Don't put it in the ref's hand. Don't be in a close match. You should be so skilled that you should be ahead by 5 or 6. So it doesn't come down to, he got an escape at the end that wasn't really an escape. Or don't roll across your back in a way that could be signaled as a pin. So what a quick pin. That's a horrible call. Well, you shouldn't be, there's something about your technique. If you're on top and you roll across your back and they called it pin, that's something to work on your technique. So, and you might see me in a match and I may disagree in that moment until I get home and cooler heads prevailed. I'm like, that kid shouldn't have left it in the referee's hands. So that's one of the big things that we try to say is we try to be humble. All wrestlers win and lose, and this is something we work on my son with. We've struggled with that with him too. All kids, nobody likes to lose, but we shake hands before and after every match. After every match, we go and we have the wrestlers go and shake the other coach's hands out of respect. We don't throw headgear. We don't cuss. We don't do the stone cold shooting the double birds. We don't yell at the referees. We don't do any of that. We're classy. Oh, look, everything we have has the cross right there as a good reminder. We're representing our school, our faith, our team. So we try to keep a very humble approach. Wendy and I, when we coach on the sides, we don't cuss. Hey, we'll get a little loud, but it'll be a crazy move name or something. And we have our own language. Our team is very unique. We have our own language, and you'll hear us holler things like, what is that? Was that a Star Wars reference? What was that? Right. So we have a lot of fun and we laugh and cut up and we have a good time with it. We're never yelling at the kids. All we expect for the kids is to do the same thing in return. Have a good time, always show sportsmanship, always be on their best behavior and enjoy the sport. And especially while you're learning, you're going to take licks that first year because you're learning. And we see kids as they get their second and third year, we start to see those gears crank a little bit more and we start to see more wins. We start to see it in the second half of the season. We start seeing kids win because they've got experience and they've got their head on right and they're working to correct mistakes. We start to see a lot of those wins come in the second half. So who makes the best wrestlers? Listen, I've been in the sport for a long time, since 1989, when I stumbled onto the mat for the first time in 7th grade. I thought it was pro wrestling. Woo! I thought I was going to be the nature boy, Ric Flair. So who makes the best wrestler? Man, I've had teammates from the band, teammates from the chess club, teammates that were 4.0 students, football players, tough guys, skinny guys, nerdy guys. And now we see the girls. I mean, I see cheerleader girls. I see the alternative girls, the smart girls, all different kinds of people make great wrestlers. Who makes great wrestlers are people that understand it's a physical chess match. I like thinking people. I like people that use their brain, that understand the strategy. This is not a game of strength. This is not a game of overpowering. I mean, it can be, but a lot of it is positioning and leverage. And positioning and leverage are going to bring strength. So no matter how much you work out and how big you are, the biggest person doesn't always win. It's the smartest person that understands leverage and positioning, and that's where wins come from. To understand how to use that circle, how to play that physical chess game. So who makes the best wrestler? Anybody that comes in, that puts the work in, that comes to practice, learns what we're trying to do. That's who makes the best wrestler. And we're looking for those people at John Carroll with that positive attitude. And we're looking for people that want to have good time and that want to learn and be part of the team of what we do. So as we're looking at a match, just a little brief rundown, we have 3 2-minute rounds. So the pointing system, if there's no pin within those 3 rounds, a takedown, you have 2 points. Look, I'm doing the signals. Takedown is 2 points. Escape is 1 point. Reversal, we have 2 points. Near fall, that's when somebody goes down on their back. If they're down for less than 5 seconds, if it's like 3 seconds, they're getting a couple of points. Near fall, if they're down on their back for more than 5 seconds, they get off their back, they're getting 3 points. A fall, a pin is when both shoulder blades, not the shoulders, it's the shoulder blades. When they move across the mat, they're down for just about a second. Boom, that ref slaps the mat. That's a pin. A forfeit is when there's nobody else in the weight class. Disqualification is when, they do something illegal, they can disqualify. In a legal hold, that's different. You'll get different warnings. So we do have different technical warnings and things that are given throughout the match. So as you're around the sport, you'll start to understand. You'll see a ref say, warning, stalling, red. And then you'll say 1 point, green, stalling, red. So you'll start to understand kind of the rules. And I do have a lot of things posted. We have a wrestling forum that you can link to on jcwrestle.com. We have a wrestling forum that all the parents can actually go to and learn a lot of the rules. And we have a lot of videos for the kids that they can watch and learn technique. And that's JC Wrestling Forum. And you can get to that from www.jcwrestle.com. So you can learn a little bit more about the points. And then our experienced parents are going to help out. The ones that have been around for a while, they'll help out and they'll kind of explain to you what's going on in the matches. So as we're moving on right here, our award show is at the end of the year, and that'll follow immediately after the season. We try to go ahead and get it done. Wendy hand makes all the awards. They're made out of mirror tiles. They're really cool. And we try to appreciate everybody's hard work. We do awards like most escapes, most reversals, quickest pin, everybody, how many pins they got during the year. We give away the varsity letter. You earn them in wrestling. We don't give them away like other sports. You got to have 36 varsity points, 36 varsity wins. We also look at coach's discretion, grades, behavior, all of that goes into the factor, but you do have to have the 36 team victory points to move into qualification for varsity letterman. And our Letterman's Club, it's very cool, very specific. And we have our jackets that we order. And we got, through Catholic Wrestle, we have a connection. I'm Italian, man. I got connections through everything. So we can get them at a lot less expensive than what you pay through the other sports, through other places. And ours is different. Ours is the classic John Carroll jacket that my uncles wore back in the 60s and 70s when they went to John Carroll. That's the white and the green. It's the classic John Carroll from way back in the day. We went with the traditional look, and we have John Carroll wrestling across the back. And we have that cross. That cross is kind of our symbol for wrestling. All right. So look at the very end, man. I appreciate your time. I know I've gone through a lot of material, a lot of information, and I appreciate it. I try to give as much detail. You can always call, text, or email me. I've got all my information on the website, jcwrestle.com. You can also create a team password to get into that parents forum and kids forum to where all the videos are up there so you can learn about scoring and learn about the sport. So once again, www.jcwrestle.com. If you are going to go ahead and sign your kid up, as long as they're in a feeder school for John Carroll, that's our middle schools, that's 7th and 8th. That will go to John Carroll that are at the feeder schools right now. You can go ahead and sign up. Anybody, of course, that's at John Carroll, you are eligible to sign up as well. We have a contact form on our website on jcwrestle.com. If you'll fill out that contact form, tell me a little bit about your kid. I'll give you a call. We'll talk about it, and we'll go ahead and get that Dragonfly Max rolling and get you moving into the process. So we are looking forward to this season. Once again, This is our 4th year, and I am so excited to be involved. And Coach Wendy, Dr. Coach Wendy, we're both just excited about the boys and girls program, the direction that we're taking this, and we are really looking for your talented kid to come in and help out. One last little thing, we want to get back to the social events because of COVID and different things. We haven't been doing them as much, but that's something one of the parents pointed out. They're like, hey, you're not really doing them much anymore. So we're going to get back to that. We're going to get back to getting the family, right? Pulling the big family back together, doing some Dave and Buster's nights. Maybe we'll go bowling and do the place in Pelham with the laser tag and the bowling, good team building stuff. The kids love to do haunted house nights. We're going to try to get them out to a haunted house. So, it's something we talk about the sport, and success and building and winning and all this stuff. Something else that we do is we build friends. And we build a family. We build a nice little wrestling family. We talk to each other throughout the year. The kids get to be friends. They talk on Instagram. They see each other in classes. So you build friendships. And a lot of times those memories and those friendships are going to last a lot longer than the medals that you have. I've got a whole box of medals that are downstairs in my basement, but I've got friends from this sport that I still talk to. I always say that my first fraternity wasn't in college. My first fraternity was my wrestling team. And those are still the guys I call today. A couple of them are in my wedding. Some of them are business associates I network with. Even today at 45 years old, I still call them my wrestling friends, like fraternity brothers. So that's expanded. That's now fraternity and sorority for wrestling. So I'm looking forward to seeing these kids really bond and make friendships and get something more out of the sport than just putting their toe to the line. Of course, all that kind of stuff is important as far as the competing, but I think the bigger thing is building confidence and learning teamwork and learning all the different gifts and leadership that they'll get out of being a high school wrestler. So thank you very much for being part of our presentation. And I hope to see you in our wrestling family, and I hope to see your kids out on the mat.